Northern Super League Week 3, presented by BMO, finds Calgary Wild FC in enemy territory to the host AFC Toronto at York Lions Stadium in Toronto, Ontario. For this wet one, we have former youth international from Team Canada, Jessica Lisi, and myself, Ashley Docking, on the call. And it is soggy outside, but that did not stop the fans from coming to what could be considered AFC's true home opener, Jess. And one thing that we love about this AFC team is that all their hard work paid off, finally breaking the ice with a goal, the first in franchise history.
Yeah, absolutely. And who else other than, Kaylee Hunter, somebody that's made such an impact coming off the bench for Toronto. She shows her composure here, her confidence at just 17 years old to be able to slot that home. She looked super confident, brings great intensity for this side, so I'm excited to see her get in today. And then when you look at someone like Emma Regan, she is the epitome of what Coach Milanovic really wants from his side. She's great on both sides of the ball. She's able to bring that intensity. She's really their rock in the midfield. So, always excited to see Emma Regan get suited up.
Calm, composed, poised, all of the things you want in your captain. And for Calgary on the other side of things, man, did they let it fly in their last matchup, potting 4 goals, and Michaela Moore leading the way.
Yeah, this was picture perfect. This looks like the coach wrote it up and they were able to get on the end of it. Great for Moore to be able to put her head on that. Somebody that brings such leadership to this Calgary side. It was also just great to see her get one after that unfortunate mishap in the last matchup. When you shift your focus to Johnson, she's somebody that had a big night. She was able to get 2. That was great for her to slot that home short side, beat McLeod. She put her head down and struck right through it. And this was a great one in transition. She was aware. She was able to notice that McLeod was out of position, and she's able to slot this home from far. Wasn't going to take the extra touches, did exactly what she needed to do. She had a really great matchup.
Calgary coming off the 4-1 win against Halifax. Toronto coming off a 2-1 loss, to Ottawa. Rain or shine, we play in the NSL, and we'll have the starting 11 and some introductory interviews coming up in just a moment. It's NSL Week 3 presented by BMO. Jessica Lisi, Ashley Docking here with you. Let's get into AFC Toronto starting 11 because they've made some interesting choices. 3 to be exact. You have Kaylee Hunter, who's being rewarded for her spark plug play, coming in as a substitution in the first 2 matches. Croy Soto, she gets a sniff at the lineup for her first appearance here this season, and Ashley Cathro as well. She's coming into the mix.
Yeah, I think there's a few interesting changes here. I'm excited to see them all get in the mix. I do think, Colby Barnett has been huge for Toronto's attack. She's been able to get the ball into the box for them more than anyone, I would say. I do think there's a bit of inconsistency in her crossing, but once she's able to find her footing, she is going to be huge for them. I also think, making note of Nikayla Small, she's been massive for them coming off the front. We are seeing her transition into that wing-back role, and in that position today, specifically when you look at the tactics, those 2 players are going to be massive in helping Toronto both offensively and defensively.
Colby, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast before your game against Calgary today. The first question I have for you is, what have you learned about yourselves through the first 2 games of this season, despite the results?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely had to learn some resilience. We understand that we want to be a possession-oriented, very fast-paced team. And I think that was seen through our first 2 games. Obviously, we aren't getting the results that we want, and that's where the resilience comes in. We definitely need to focus on what we do in between the boxes, but I think this resilience you guys will see continuing throughout the season. You'll see that in our performances and hopefully the results for future games.
One of the things that we were talking to your head coach, Marco, about this week was the fact that set pieces are going to be such a big factor in this game, both yours and then being able to defend Calgary's. What have you worked on in training to get prepared for today?
Yeah, in training, we worked a lot on being aggressive, whether it's on offense or defense. Obviously, I wasn't super happy with my own set pieces in the last game, so I worked on perfecting those and getting those with the correct spin and the correct spaces. And then, yeah, I mean, on defense, we just got to really focus on getting that second and third phase out of the box and make sure that we're not letting them get any chances on goal.
Colby, thank you so much for your insight. We wish you luck today in the match.
Thank you.
For Calgary, listen, when you win 4-1, why mess with a good thing? And it's the Wild who are rolling back the exact same lineup that we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a few standouts for me. I thought Doherty Howard had a fantastic game. She was very awesome on both sides of the ball. She was really pulling the strings alongside Savitsky. Both of them were really rocks in the midfield. I also think Grace Storty, she didn't have the cleanest first match. She wasn't doing that well in the 1v1 battle versus Ward, but in this last matchup, she was solid on both sides of the ball, really creating that flank play for Calgary. So I'm excited to see those players get in, and I just think overall Calgary has had a really great last matchup.
We had a chance to talk to Sonia, a member of this Calgary team, about the importance of winning, especially for a team that's in the midst of a long road trip.
Yeah, I think it was really important on the road, like you said, for a while, but we knew in our first game against Vancouver that we had a lot more to give. I think we started the first half of Vancouver a bit nervous, and we knew that we had a style of play and standards, and we went into a Halifax game wanting to show ourselves, show the club, and show our fans what we're capable of, and I think we set the standards at that game and let the league know that we're here to play.
Calgary Wild FC putting the league on absolute notice. And Jess, things get interesting now as we head into still the beginning portion of the season, but now every team has a game or two under their belt. So you get that scouting report. You have an opportunity to be more prepared to understand what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think when we spoke to all the coaches so far, everyone has kind of said the same thing. It's nice to have footage to go off of. And I think specifically in this matchup, right, you know, both these teams have performed very well. Obviously, AFC Toronto hasn't been able to get that win just yet. I don't think we've seen the best of them, but they are putting the pieces together. We're seeing a lot of build-up from them. And obviously, in the last matchup, we saw great things from Calgary, and they did improve from their first match. So, yeah, I'm super pumped to see today how this game plays out.
You could see both teams with the final preparations before they hit the pitch. Fast feet for everybody on AFC Toronto, and their head coach, Marko Milanovic, talking about having some patience, sticking with the process and seeing where it gets them. Whereas Lydia Bedford, to your point, hey, we know that there's going to be trials and tribulations, but it's about improving game to game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think patience is huge for Toronto. We saw them in the first game against Montreal where, you know, the game was moving 100 miles an hour and they weren't able to settle it. But in their last matchup against Ottawa, they did. They really played cool, calm, collected. They were able to control the pace and the dynamic of the matchup. And I think that's huge for their style of play and finding that success in the final third for them.
Marko Milanovic, of course, coming from North Toronto soccer, the Nitros. There's a heavy Nitros presence, not only on the AFC side, but in the league in general, speaking to their quality and development. And you look at this Calgary team, I think there's a lot of pressure when you start off, not only your season as, hey, it's the first game of our club. We are the first game of the Northern Super League point blank period in their 1-0 loss against Vancouver. And regardless of your level of professionalism, there's going to be nerves.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't think it doesn't matter how many years you've been playing or for how long. It really is going to affect you, especially when it's such a historical moment for, you know, female athletes everywhere, for soccer in Canada, for soccer in general. So, yeah, I thought, you know, they stepped up to the plate. They did bring great intensity, and they had a lot to be proud of, even in that first matchup.
It's the third matchup for AFC, the second at home, and the first in their new digs at York Lions Stadium. So an unfortunate result for the home side in their opener against the Montreal Roses. They get a chance at a mulligan. as we look at Selma Flores de Roche, who is our referee tonight. She will be overseeing things. The visiting Calgary Wild FC are in the Wild Rose pink and blue colorways. They are going left to right. And then the hometown AFC Toronto are in maroon on the right side of your screen, going to the left. We have Calgary getting ready for kickoff, and we are underway. The ball goes right back to Moore and quickly turned over by Toronto. And one of the things, Jess, that this Toronto team wants to do is play fast, but the weather conditions can sometimes be tricky when the grass is slick and you're trying to move the ball quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that's big for Toronto is being able to play quick, but also, be composed and not forcing the ball. One thing that they've been struggling with, especially in that final third, is just the clinicalness of being able to finish it. It's that final pass, it's that final cross. So I do think they've been great in finding that pace and controlling the tempo of the games they've been in, but it does just need to be slightly cleaner from them.
AFC Toronto owns possession, owns shots in their last matchup, but couldn't find the target as much as they would like to, as applying a little bit of pressure here on Calgary Wild goalie Stephanie Bukovic, who, may I say, has been phenomenal for this Calgary team, a real standout in these early days of the NSL. Advancing through the midfield is AFC, looking for the pass that's on, trying to split the defense. A little bit of miscommunication, and that's going to fall to Bukovic, who's more than happy to move the ball at her feet. She's the Croatian native, and everyone talks about the fact that she does the freestyling. She's a show woman, if you will. So that's a dream in modern soccer.
You love a goalkeeper that's great with their feet.
Turnover here, an errant pass, and AFC looking to take advantage. Kaylee Hunter, her first sniff at things, as I said in the open, a spark plug for this team and getting rewarded for her play. And you said it's the pinnacle of NSL and what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, as a 17-year-old coming into this, there's obviously nerves. People are always going to question, hey, are you ready? But I do think, if you're good enough, you're old enough. I've heard that quite a few times in some of the interviews that we've had with coaches. And with her, it's very true. She's been a standout for Canada at the youth level. And every time that she stepped on the pitch so far, she has created great momentum for Toronto. So I think that today is going to be a great moment for her. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see her on the goal sheet again.
Victoria Pickett taken down. It's going to be the first free kick of the match going to AFC Toronto. Captain Emma Regan stands over the ball. Colby Barnett there as reinforcements. A ball direct into the box. It's met by Calgary FC. It isn't falling to the feet of anybody just yet, and AFC Toronto unable to corral, and it's a free kick here for Calgary. Interesting that, Colby Barnett told us she hasn't really been thrilled with her service, but I'm not sure that Emma Regan is going to be happy with that one either, maybe looking for a little more loft in those situations.
Absolutely, and I think, set pieces are something that are very much overlooked, but as you saw in Calgary's game, 3 of those 4 goals were coming from set pieces. They have the ability to change the matchup and be that turning point, especially, when it's a free kick, but even throw-ins have that ability to create something big, so they do need to be a little bit better on their set pieces, more clinical, more clean.
Concentration and focus is what it takes, according to Marko Milanovic. You can't take it easy and be on your heels for 1 second in those moments, and neither in the midfield with some of the talent that Calgary have. But once again, AFC able to displace, and then Sarita Thornton comes in to turn it over, and now Calgary look to change the field of play. A nice job advancing the ball to the left flank. No numbers for Calgary. The ball slipped into the box, and it's Sophia Manor who's there to handle that headily. Manor spent 1 season last year in the NWSL, making her debut with the Orlando Pride, as we get a look at some contact in the center of the pitch, went uncalled. Pickett so sturdy in the midfield for Toronto. She swings the ball, and it's Nikki Small who tries to advance it up to her teammate Esther. Okoronkwo is somebody who this team has very high expectations of. They want her to get going offensively, even though she has a tendency to try and check back and link up play.
Yeah, she does great. She does great things for them coming off the front. Milanovic mentioned she's a little bit more used to playing as a 10, being able to find that pocket as opposed to having to be the number 9 that's really driving into the box. I do think that in the first 2 matchups, she's been astronomical for them. She's been able to create a lot of chances. I do think that there's moments where I'd like to see her a little bit more focused in getting into the play constantly. If she is laying the ball off, to be able to spin out and really drive into that 18 or into the 6, because we have seen when she gets on the end of that ball, she's dangerous. She's a big presence. She's very physical. She's very intense. So it would be really helpful for her to be able to be turned on at all points for Toronto.
Okoronkwo, the Nigerian native, is wiry. Also has a penchant to draw fouls as well. So to your point, getting into the box could be a freebie. Not saying it's a guarantee, but I will say it's advantage to the penalty kicker instead of the goalkeeper in those situations.
Us forwards love those. You gotta dive a little sometimes too.
Not dive. No, we don't do that.
I love a good dive.
A well-placed dive.
Absolutely.
There's a certain beauty to it, Shakespearean, if you will. An opportunity for another set piece here, and that big looping ball almost to the penalty spot is met by Calgary once again, headed out of danger. Toronto looking to recycle the opportunity, but a nice job to clear it by Calgary. Sarah Griffith gets in the mix, and now it's Johnson who puts the ball through. Time and space for Calgary, but it's closed down quickly. Griffith tries to stay with it, but Victoria Pickett, a nice job getting back in those transition moments.
Ashley, I spoke about in the pregame, how important those out wide positions are going to be. It's these transitional moments where you're going to get caught if you are up high. Calgary has numbers forward. They're able to make the most of it. Obviously, Victoria Pickett, very good to get back and put that intensity into defend. But I do think that Toronto has to be aware, both Nikki Small as well as Ashuri has to be able to get back on transitional moments and pick their moments to go forward to be involved in the attack. Otherwise, they are going to get caught and outnumbered out on the flank.
Seeing some speed demonstrated by both Tegan Stewart on Calgary and Croy Soto, and now Okoronkwo faces up the defender. It lands on the foot of Small. She'll be a little bit passive, recycle the opportunity right to left. Ashley Cathro getting her first touch of the game. Victoria, BC native in her first NSL appearance here tonight. Cathro plays the ball to the left flank. Barnett, service inside. It's Moore that meets it with the inside of her foot. And an errant touch. Both players say yes, understood. We'll get it next time, and it's going to be Calgary ball. Calgary doing a great job defending the 18 so far here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing about Calgary is they're very organized defensively. And I think one thing that could really help Toronto out specifically is if they are able to stretch Calgary's back line, pull out Storty, pull out Green, have them stretched and be able to create those spaces in the middle of the park for Toronto. But yeah, they're absolutely organized and they're doing great with numbers around the ball right now, making it difficult for Toronto to really penetrate and create something on goal.
Instead of organizing through the middle, they go right over the top. Okoronkwo drops her defender, takes the goal line route, tries to cross it back in front, and the flag is up in the corner. But a nice job taking the opportunity to go 1v1 by Okoronkwo.
And that's an example of what she can do, right? This is a great ball in, first of all, great recognition to notice that Okoronkwo is able to beat those two defenders. She has them split. And just quick little footwork. There's the physicality that we were talking about. Unfortunate that it did just cross over the line, but it was great effort by her, and that's where she's going to cause so many issues for any team that she's playing against.
A nice matchup to watch, Okoronkwo and Micah Rolsma playing defense for Calgary. She's been great early on for them, a sturdy presence. Vukovic plays it up the left flank, and Allie Green decides to send Griffith on a run, but that ball has far too much pace on it. And early in these games, it's about the timing and understanding the pace of the field and how things are going to bounce and move when it's been raining all day in Toronto.
Yeah, and both these sides did a really good job in the last matchup in controlling the pace and the dynamic. They were in control, specifically in the midfield, right? You have a pairing like Emma Regan and Victoria Pickett, and on the other side you have Savitsky and you have Doherty Howard. That's a great matchup to watch. So I think that both these teams are going to fight to be the one in control, and we're just seeing them really find their footing right now.
Hong Hai-ji, she's directing traffic. They run into some trouble, so back to Sophia Manor it goes. The clearance doesn't go far, but who else but Pickett, so sturdy, finds possession and gets them out of trouble over to Small. One touch to Regan. She's on the move. A great defensive effort by Calgary in the central midfield by Maggie Doherty Howard. She is a fearsome competitor in every sense of the word.
Absolutely, and that just shows, right? There are people who are able to put their body on the line on both sides of the ball, and she's showed us that she's able to get the ball in the back of the net in the last match, and she is not afraid to get down and dirty.
She's a multi-hyphenate.
Absolutely.
If you will. Does a little bit of everything. Let's see what Small has here. She dribbles into the 18, surveys, and she wins a corner kick. Check that. They actually give it a goal kick. They give it a goal. She sold it to me. The officials have a keener eye than myself at pitch level.
I will say, I think that Toronto really does have to expose Calgary on the flanks. They have to go at people 1v1, and Nikayla Small is the perfect person to do it. She's so great. I'm not sure I agree with the ref on that one. That definitely went off of Calgary. I can see Nikki Small's fight there.
Her hands went up. Colby Barnett's hands went up. Nonetheless, we move on. Calgary looking to play things forward quickly at that. Haley Johnson goes 1v1, looking to cross. That's turned away, and now Small once again has space and time. She'll take it. Up to Okawankwo. Calgary organized in the 18. They have numbers. Okawankwo with the cross. And Bukovic makes the simple save.
Yeah, it's a good idea by Okawankwo, but it does have to be better. There's just no reason that it should be going straight to the keeper. She does all this work. She does great to be patient, take the player on. And, I mean, the run was there. It could have been potentially hit a little harder and maybe a little lower, more to foot, but I do think that it was a great effort overall, and she needs to just keep going, because I do think Toronto will get on the end of one of these.
She now has the attention of the defense. She drew Green. She drew Rolfsma. So now there's advantage in terms of numbers if they can get the ball across. 13th minute here at York Lions Stadium for AFC's Toronto's second home match, first at their permanent location. Such a fantastic showing at BMO Field, sold out 10,500. An unfortunate result for them against the Montreal Roses, who have proven to be an early powerhouse. And now Pickett draws her second foul of the match.
This is a great win by Pickett, and I will say in Storty's defense, the only way to stop Pickett is to really take her down. She is insanely fast, and she's great with her feet, and she's a threat going forward. So I think good on Storty to draw a foul there. It is far out, but this could also be a dangerous opportunity.
Victoria Pickett, 28 years old. She played at the University of Wisconsin, drafted into the NWSL, 15th by the Kansas City Current. She's now on loan from North Carolina, but brings that pedigree to this league, which was one of the questions. Okay, so Canada's getting their first women's pro league. What's the product going to look like? And so far, 10 out of 10. They opt for the short ball. It's Barnett who tries to sneak in behind the defense. Thornton is there. The cross still goes through. And now Small called for contact in the box, and Calgary is going to get a free kick.
That obviously isn't what she had meant to do, not to go through the player, but it's the desire that we've spoken so much about, wanting to see from Toronto in that final third, in that box. So I do like the desire for her to really go through this ball yeah, very unfortunate that she connected with Johnson. Again, obviously wasn't her intention, but I do love her desire behind that and her fight to be able to try to get on the end of that.
Collisions like that will knock the wind out of you, just in a defenseless position. And to your point, no malice.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just Small's been in the gym. Thornton, she gets sent on her way. Manor has to come out, and she'll sweep or keep that all the way out, settle for a throw-in, giving her team a chance to organize on the back end.
And one thing that Calgary found a lot of success in their last matchup was that flank play, was being able to find a player like Johnson or a player like Thurton and be able for them to go 1v1 or potentially cause those overloads in those wide flanks, getting Green or Storty forward. And I think that's going to be huge to finding their success in that final third today. And I think that's something Toronto really has to be aware of.
Trying to control for the first time this match, Calgary in the final third. All they've done is sent balls over the top and looked for that direct pressure. Now a little bit of possession, something Toronto has done a really great job of in their last two matches. Michaela Moore available. Instead, it's going to be a quick pass back and then over the top. Opportunity here for Johnson, cuts it back. Shot from the top of the 18, and Manor deals with that tidily.
I mean, you love to see it. You love to see the confidence from Griffith to be able to strike that from the top of the 18, and you like that Calgary is really playing on their front foot. Great in by Johnson to go 1v1, and again, probably not the results she wanted, but she was able to strike that on goal. Why not try it? You're at the 18. That's the best opportunity you're going to get.
Well, and I think critical not to give up that rebound as well. That's how AFC Toronto got into trouble in their last match. We saw Desiree Scott score her first ever professional goal, which great for Canadian soccer, not so great for AFC Toronto. Griffith turns. She has Johnson as a runner. A nice through ball, and she has pace. Cutting into the 18, giving chase. And once again, Manor tested. Nothing too dramatic, but either way, you never know what can happen in the rain. They say it all the time, a shot on goal, because you never know.
And Calgary, time and time again, is going to test that flank play. They've had quite a few opportunities so far. I also think in the middle of the park, it's going to be an interesting matchup. There are going to be times where Toronto is going to get forward, and Savitsky is getting on the ball, being able to control the play right now, and she's really opening up some gaps in Toronto's midfield and being able to create a lot for them going forward.
A nice run into the box as well, and that goal is going to be blown dead and blown offside seemingly. Getting behind the defense, though, once again, are Calgary, and we just talked about this.
The creativity's there for Calgary. Obviously, could have held her run a little more, but, that's the goal scorer that we spoke about. 2 goals in the last matchup, Callie Johnson. This is a great ball through. Yeah, she definitely could have potentially pulled her run out a little further, so she was able to stay on side and get on the end of that. But really great idea, and if she's able to connect that, Toronto's in trouble.
Callie Johnson, out of Australia. She has 10 caps for the U20 national team. She had experience in the FIFA U20 Women's World Cup in 2024. That was in Colombia. So she's played against the best in her age group, and she's not shying away from the adults here. Not at all. Bukovic opts for the short ball to Storty. Doherty Howard comes back to receive, and she's driven back. A little bit more pressure here from Toronto. Trying to get a high press as you see Pickett come in, Regan directing traffic as well. Michaela Moore has to bring that down in her own 18. And now it's Storty who finds herself with time and space. Thurton, a 1-2 with Doherty Howard, and we talked to Sarita Thurton earlier, and one of the things she said is that she tries to take advantage of every opportunity that she gets, and it was kind of nice for her as you see the fans here shivering away but cheering away in their ponchos. She said, hey, I know what I can do, and I believe in myself. And so when I get opportunities like this and to start in games like this, it's like, yeah, you've earned this and you belong here.
Yeah, she absolutely belongs. I thought she did great in the last matchup. That was her first start. And I thought in the first game as well, she brought intensity, she brought energy, and she had a lot of purpose behind her crossing in that last matchup. This is a great regain by Emma Regan.
The touch gets away from her a little bit, and now it's counterattack back the other way. Griffith beats Hong, shot on goal, Manor. Still right in front of her, easy to get a hold of, and Croy Soto getting taken advantage of a little bit here.
One thing that Toronto has also struggled with, aside from being able to connect that final pass, is the defensive transitional moments. They are really struggling to stay tight, to be able to compete in those. It just needs to be better. That's too easy. There's no reason that that she should be able to run by Hong that easily and just muscle her off the ball.
Right at the top of the 18. It's always going to be difficult. Throw in here. No, foul called on Sarita Thurton, and it's going to be a free kick for AFC. And to your point, they have tried to make those changes, right? They changed their right back, they changed their left back, they brought in Cathro, they brought in Soto, everything that they can to maybe make these small incremental changes here early on now that some players are available to them, but still the problems persist early on. Control in the central midfield. Nice job poking it away as the defense. You see Small coming back for the assist. Okoronkwo wins out as that ball goes to Small, but the through ball only finds Michaela Moore. Storty, 23 years old, out of Calgary, Alberta. She played at the University of Memphis, so went to the States. ACC Rookie of the Year. Hong surveying. Goes back to Cathro. Seeing this mid to high press from Calgary. It's Small in the middle who finds herself with an opportunity. Esther once again dispossessed, and back the other way go Wild. Thornton brings it down. Griffin tries for the one time, whiffs on it, and Small, I gotta say, Small has been all over the pitch. We weren't sure what the change from being up as an attacker, moving to a midfielder to make room for Hunter was going to do, but she looks right at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? You see her, she is a player that works hard defensively, but she's also somebody you want the ball at her feet. And I think right now, the way Toronto is playing, they're sort of with a two up top. You see Kaylee Hunter and Okoronkwo up there together. So I do think that this is a great change. I think that she's somebody that can make an impact in that position, being able to go forward, but also doing that work defensively that, as I mentioned, is going to be huge for Toronto today. And we've seen quite a few times it takes one little mishap, one late step to the ball for Calgary to create something. So she definitely is going to need to have a big match, and I think so far she's doing quite well.
Pickett turns it over. Inopportune time. Griffith out to Maggie Doherty, who's always dangerous with the ball at her feet. She draws two defenders. Hands it off to Storty in the corner. It's Hong that meets that cross at the top of the 6. And a transition opportunity here for Hunter. Lays it off to Ashori, who manages to save it, and now AFC Toronto organized and look to get numbers forward.
Just a bit too much curve on that one on the outside of the foot, but it was a good idea to be able to recognize to switch the play, and good on Ashuri to be able to get forward. Kaylee Hunter, again, just somebody that brings so much energy. She is that spark plug for Toronto.
Even her definitive decision to take that ball away from Okoronkwo when it could have been both, and she said, I'm here, I'm going to do it. that you don't necessarily always see from a young player, 17 years old.
No, and you want forwards that are demanding, that they want to be on the ball, and she is somebody that, exemplifies that at such a young age. So, the sky's the limit for her. I do think that she's just going to continue to grow, as the years go on, but also just each game, you're going to see little glimpses of greatness in her that she'll continue to get better.
Hunter, of course, scored the first goal in AFC history, but now it's Calgary looking to score the first goal in this match. Soto misplays that ball to Victoria Pickett, and it's a blast from distance, and that's the danger of shots coming from anywhere on the pitch, although it doesn't seem like Lydia Bedford is thrilled with that offering from an ambitious range. Manor has been the busier of the two keepers here as Okoronkwo and Small play a little 1-2 touch. Okoronkwo in, and she scores! She had been biding her time. Expectations were high, and she answered. 1-0 Toronto.
We have been expecting her to get one these last couple matches, so it is great to see her hard work finally pay off. I think that Toronto has done really well in creating a lot of chances, so it is great to see them get on the end of that finally.
Some nice work with her teammate Nikki Small, and then the rest all the way up to Okoronkwo.
Nikki Small is a player that is able to pull the strings. There's her little cheeky pass, her recognition of being able to see, and this is the movement that I was speaking about earlier, wanting Okoronkwo to be involved not only in that initial movement and being able to bring that down, but also to continue her run, and she did that perfectly. That was very well executed and a very confident and a confident finish.
Okoronkwo in 1v1 on Bukovic, and she makes no mistake. A perfectly placed ball inside the post, on the move, splitting two defenders for her first Northern Super League goal of her career, and now Toronto, for the first time this season, have a lead.
I think Toronto is a squad, too, that is trying to stay true to themselves and playing that style of play where it's constantly, possession-oriented and drive it through the midfield. But I will say I do think that there are moments where they could play a little more direct. That was a perfect example of being able to, have a player like Okoronkwo up there and be isolated with a defender. She's going to take people on every single time. And as you saw, obviously, Kaylee Hunter's goal in the last matchup was on transition, but just her ability to be able to use her pace, her athleticism, and really create something is I think, huge for Toronto. So I would really like to see them at times utilize that athleticism up front.
Whether he's smiling outwardly or not, Marko Milanovic has got to be happy with his team's performance, because he talked about advancing, getting numbers, trying to play in transition and catching opponents on their heels. And that 1-2 touch from Okoronkwo to Small and back was exactly what he's talking about. He wants this team, Jess, and you know this, to play with creativity, to play with freedom.
Absolutely, and that's why, you saying that, it's interesting. Nikki Small is a player that you want on the ball. She's very creative, she's very smart, and she's all over the place, as we were we were just saying. But I think that she has been somebody that is pulling a lot of the strings. I think Amy Walsh, mentioned that a few times in the last couple games for Toronto. She is somebody that has really come alive, and I think last matchup she wasn't on the ball enough, but this game we are seeing her get on the ball, find it, and demand that ball, and she's creating a lot for Toronto, as we saw in that goal alone.
We've seen her on the left, we've seen her on the right, we've seen her working centrally. Now she has an assist.
And that is one thing I do really like about Toronto's attack. I will say I think that they have a lot of fluidity in their movements off the ball, and that's great. I think the fluency will come in that final pass, but the fluidity of their movements, and you're seeing Pickett on the left, you're seeing Pickett on the right, you're seeing Small on the right, you're seeing Small central. You love to see that, because that is what's hard to defend, and that's what causes problems for your opponent.
Very well said, partner.
Thank you. Fluency, fluidity. I could have messed those ones up.
A lot of alliteration. I like it. Calgary, how will they answer? They've had arguably better chances, more of them to be sure. Manor has been sturdy and stable. Michaela Moore gets it back to Bukovic for another touch. See this pressure coming from looking for a through ball. A nice hold by the defensive line, and Manor coming out playing way above her box. She's happy to bring that back into more comfy territory before dispatching it to Hong.
I did mention Savitsky and the impact that she had last matchup in being able to control the pace and the dynamic for Calgary, and I think right now it would be very helpful for Toronto to have somebody at least screen her and not make that build-up out of the back as easy. If Okoronkwo is, pushed up, it would be nice for Kaylee Hunter to really switch over and sort of have that pendulum going, or at least communicate in the midfield to have someone at least be close enough in touching distance, because right now she is having too much time, too much space on the ball, and she's going to hurt you if that's the case. She's going to create a lot for Calgary.
Doherty Howard turns, fends off Small, foul called. First free kick of the match for Calgary Wild FC.
Some feistiness in that one.
Sometimes that's what you need, though. You're a team that's 0-2 to start the season. You've been in close matches, and now you're up. So what tone are you going to set? You can't make it easy for a team like Calgary, who has the firepower to get back into it comfortably.
Agreed, and we've seen Toronto, in both their matches have to chase the game, and they didn't for 1 second lose that resilience. I think that they, fought till the final minute, and so now we're seeing them and how they're able to react being up a goal. Are they going to drop their intensity? Sometimes teams get comfortable with the lead and they sort of slack off. I don't think that's the case. We've seen them, still come out very hard, very resilient. But yeah, this is the first time we're seeing them in this season so far having the lead.
Thornton seeds the throw-in to Storty. We get a look at Lydia Bedford. She had a couple of seasons in the Women's Super League, left Arsenal to coach U18 Brentford, Brentford's youth program, before coming and getting snapped up by Calgary to coach this inaugural Wild team. And I wonder, too, if we're going to see Michaela Moore become a little bit more active offensively and in the attack. But for now, Ashuri is going to guard the right touchline. That's where most of the pressure has come from Calgary so far. Soto steps in. The ball is moved up to Small. A little miscommunication, but Small trying to get physical, and Hunter in pursuit. Moore to Savitsky. As you said, she has too much time, but a misplaced pass, and now Ashuri back the other way. As you see the sun peeking onto the field here at York Lions Stadium. Okoronkwo, an overlapping run. And mishandled by Michaela Moore. That's going to be a corner kick, the first of the match here for Toronto.
Another thing to point out, I think Toronto has done a good job at adapting. You're seeing Ashuri and Barnett really drop almost into that back line at times to be able to deal with those wingers. I think both Thurton and Johnson are super capable and are causing a lot of issues. We know that there's going to be overlaps from Green and Storty, so I do think that they're adapting well to really shut down that double team that we saw sort of come alive earlier in the half.
Barnett on the service. Right to keeper, and it's fumbled a little bit by Vukovic, but she ends up getting on it, and now it's going to be out of trouble here for Calgary momentarily.
That was well swung in. I think that there's just moments for Toronto where that desire to really just put your body on the line and cause maybe, not make it that easy for Vukovic to be able to come out, maybe just cause her to fumble it a little bit, have it land in the box. But this is a good ball in. It's well swung in. There's just not enough there. I think Ashuri could do a little bit more in causing some issues for Vukovic.
Whatever Nikki Small had pregame, let's give it to the whole group. Let's give whatever a big serving.
You're not wrong. We should ask her.
Everybody and see where that gets us. Doherty Howard turns. Gets it back from Griffith and goes all the way back to Moore. Rolfsma comes back to her on the left flank, and she'll play direct. Unable to gain control here is Calgary, and they turn it over to AFC.
That was a perfect example of being able to see they sort of turned into a 5-3-2 just then. You had Ashuri being able to deal with Johnson coming off the front, and you allowed Pickett to deal with that overlapping run coming from Green. They are doing a really good job right now. I'm really impressed that they were they were able to adapt in that short time. At the beginning of the half, we pointed out quite a few times they're being overloaded on that flank. They're causing issues, and if Calgary is able to pull out a Cathro or a Soto, that's where they're going to run into issues. That's where the gaps are going to be able to open. Well in by Toronto to be able to recognize that and adapt as the game has gone on. That just shows the quality of players that are out there.
And stop me if you've heard this. Coaches are control freaks to a degree. So
yes.
Kudos to Marko Milanovic and Sylvia Forbes, the first assistant, for knowing that the offense and the format that they're trying to run is going to have growing pains. There's so much freedom and there's so much fluidity that they know it's not going to be perfect off the jump, and they're willing to live with those mistakes as long as you said, there's adjustments.
Yeah, there's always going to be at the beginning, especially, all these players are coming from different environments. They're all getting to know each other, and I think that's why you have to focus on the things you can control, and that's your desire and the little things like making that 5-10 yard pass.
Here come AFC, an opportunity to swing the ball in, and it's taken but blocked. Another corner kick, well in by AFC to draw. Another set piece and another opportunity for Colby Barnett.
We have seen AFC in their last few games, get a lot of set pieces, whether that's a corner kick, whether that's a free kick. I would like to see them be able to get on the end of one of them. Barnett mentioned to us in the pregame that she's been practicing her delivery, so I am hoping that they have that desire in the box and they're able to finish one.
Big looping ball, a little bit further out than the last one we saw. Drop pass looking for a shot, but it's cleared by the defense, and it lands on the foot of Soto. Soto, who will return it right back into the danger zone, hunting for Hong.
There has to be a lot more whip on that, especially when you are an in-swinger. You're expecting that to land in and around that 6, at least give your teammates a try. It is difficult to create much out of a floater. It's a lot easier to defend than it is to score off of.
Doherty Howard looks for more in relief. Storty will find Thornton behind the defense, and she knew she was a little hesitant on that run, but had already made the decision, and it's offside.
Sometimes you gotta try it. You don't know, maybe they missed it.
You always know that one moment she's like, oh, and then when the ball got delivered, looks at the official, are you gonna? Yeah, you are.
She could have held her run a little bit, but that's great recognition by Storty to be able to play that in behind. And again, they try time and time again to find that flank play, because that is where Calgary really thrives.
Generally speaking, the offsides usually come from the Toronto side. They rank first in the league in offsides with 7 through 2 of their matches. They've shown some more restraint here today, and whether that's for lack of opportunity or just patience and growth. Cathro to Hunter. The ball is stripped. And now an opportunity for Calgary to mount an attack. Johnson. Ashuri, as you mentioned, partner, comes all the way back to help corral some of that offensive pressure. This time she's beat to the touchline. Cross to the 6. Hong is there, sending that in the other direction. Doherty Howard turns, beats Hong. And it's Pickett that steps in, and a foul is called at the top of the 18, and AFC cannot believe their luck.
I'm going to need to see the replay on that one. I'm not too sure if that was a foul or not.
Hong steps in initially, and it looks like a 50-50 tackle from Pickett.
There's definitely no foul there, in my opinion, and this is a dangerous opportunity to go against Toronto, so not sure I'm in agreement with that one.
Doherty Howard went down to try and get a better angle on the ball. Pickett, from my angle, looked like she got ball at least, maybe only, certainly first.
She got all ball. It looks like she got actually tripped up after she had won the ball and then was about to get away with it.
Here we go. Doherty Howard at the top of the 18. Tense moments. Chip shot right into the wall. Ball don't lie in that situation, and a missed opportunity here for Calgary Wild FC, who had it on the doorstep.
I'm not sure if she was attempting to shoot that on goal, or if she was attempting to chip it over for a runner. But either way, when you do that, you have to be able to, you're either striking and you're finding that far corner, or potentially the close corner if you're able to bend it that way. But that is a difficult ball, so I do think that she potentially was trying to chip that in.
Through to Johnson, one touch right to Manor. And she's been able to find some space down that left flank, but Manor still not tested outside of her body so far in this match.
I think right now the balancing act that Toronto is going to have to sort of figure out is, you're having Ashuri and Barnett really drop back in those wide, in almost a fullback type position, but you do want your wide backs to be able to also get involved in the attack. So it's just a matter of, having that balancing act. Are they able to do the defensive work and help out there, but also be able to get forward and be, resilient and dangerous in the attack for Toronto, because that is where Toronto's going to cause a lot of problems by stretching that back line.
41st minute here at York Lions Stadium. First half of regulation time dwindling down. Toronto up 1-0 on Calgary. A beautiful independent effort by Okoronkwo to put AFC up for the first time this season, and now looking for Calgary's response. Regan happy to be patient, get it back to Soto. Bounces to Cathro. And she toys a little bit with Sarita Thurton. Manor, that ball goes right to Doherty Howard, and we'll blame the elements for her not being able to control that. And it's going to be Green who takes the throw in here for the Wild FC.
Slick pitch is definitely not making it any easier with the touches.
Very little room for error as Savitsky moves it across to the right side. Doherty Howard makes a run, and one thing that she's been so adept at is turning to goal, receiving the ball with her back to goal, and just the fast feet, right, to become a threat offensively.
She's very good. You see her experience really come to light. She is great, again, on both sides of the ball. She sort of plays in that 8 role. She's very active defensively. She's a big leader for them in the middle. Savitsky allows her to go while she holds, and I think, also just want to make note of Stewart. She's been huge for them as well. She's a youngster, another youngster. We spoke about Kaylee Hunter, but I think Stewart also had a great matchup, and here she is now, actually.
Through to Griffith, and those diagonal through balls have caused a lot of trouble here for AFC Toronto. That one a little too much pace, and Manor on her P's and Q's able to get off the line.
This is great recognition to be able to find, obviously a little overhit, but I do think you could also blame the slick pitch. It is going to bounce a little quicker, but Griffith did well to be able to recognize that space and attempt it.
Once again, played in by Thurton, a little bit too close to the goal. You want that outside the 6 a little bit more.
I actually would have loved to see her try it. She should have just had a strike on goal. I think she's more than capable, as we've seen. She can definitely strike from there. It is a good idea to be able to cross that to a runner, but yeah, definitely had to pull it out a little more if that was the case. But I would have loved to see her try it and show that confidence that she spoke so much about in our call.
Some rare generosity from a striker.
That's true.
Who's playing a little further back. Usually it's, I want to go to goal no matter what. Here we go. Regan tries to cross, and look at that second effort by Thurton, who's all over the pitch. She's 18 to 18, box to box, a defensive effort. But it's a corner kick, the result for AFC. The third corner for AFC in this match, the first from Regan, though. Big ball right to the head of Okoronkwo, but too much traffic, not enough vertical, and it's going to be another opportunity This time for Colby Barnett. The ball's going to move to the right side. We've seen a couple things from these set pieces here. We've seen Barnett whip it almost to the goal line. We've seen her pop it to the top of the 6. Somewhere in between, perhaps, for this one. In the box, and who else but Bukovic, who's able to grab it. No pressure, like you said, no stress, no bodies even in the way.
Yeah, and I think that, again, Toronto has been creating chances without a doubt, but I do think that that desire is still lacking, so I would love to see them pick that up in the second half.
Coming up here on the end of regulation, 45-minute mark imminent in the first half. Toronto against Calgary, hosting for the first time at York Lions Stadium. We're going to have 1 minute of extra time here. It has been quite the smooth half. Knock on wood, no injuries, no delays. And now just 60 seconds away from the midway point in this matchup. Moore, challenged by Okoronkwo, and she's able to clear it. They say it goes off AFC player, and now it's going to be Calgary who repossess deep in their own end. Doherty Howard misses. Regan possesses. Pickett finds Ashuri out on the right-hand side. She's pursued by Green. 1v1. Cuts left. Shot is blocked by Johnson. She's traveled all the way back for the defensive effort, and that is it. Selma Flores de Roche calls time on the first half in this match, and it's the first lead of the season for AFC, and I think that they're going to be pretty happy with their effort offensively. Defensively, however, just maybe some work to be done.
Yeah, I do think that, they have to carry that momentum from the goal into this second half and really use it to their advantage. It's not fun to chase a game, but at the same time, there is some work to be done defensively, and a 1-0 lead is not enough to sit back comfortably, so would love to see a little, some fixes for them.
It's halftime here in Toronto at York Lions Stadium. Time to tinker in the locker rooms for a little while. We will have first half highlights and an interview in just a moment.
I want to talk about how your NSL journey began. I know you've played for the New Zealand national team, you've bounced around different clubs. So at what point did it occur to you, maybe I should try out playing in Canada?
Yeah, it was at the early stages of the back end of last year. So I had finished up in Glasgow and then had gone to the Olympics for the Summer Games. And then, yeah, post there, really, I was not contracted to Glasgow anymore. I'd kind of, I wanted a new challenge. And yeah, the agent just kind of came in with the idea. And I hadn't really thought too much about it because I had been in Europe most of my career, but the opportunity was pretty exciting from the get-go.
What about this league and this opportunity drew you to it?
I think I can sympathize a lot with the country not having had a league for so long, and probably should have had one for a lot earlier. Coming from New Zealand, we've only recently had a pro team that competes in the Australian League, and so yeah, it was. I was attracted to in that sense, but also Canada as a whole. I think the comfortability between New Zealand, like there are a lot of similarities. So yeah, I was like, this could be really, really cool.
How much confidence did it give you that someone like Diana Matheson was leading this league?
Oh, huge. And I know how long she's been like trying to get this going. And she's been such a prominent figure, obviously, in the Canadian soccer setup for a long time. And she's had such a phenomenal career. So I was like, yeah, there's something special here. And you can't really put, I guess, a phrase to it. It's just like there's a really cool energy and feeling. And I mean, since arriving in Calgary, I've seen the excitement on the faces of those that have been behind the scenes from like 2.5 to now. And they're almost quite emotional with it all, and like that feeds onto us as players. You know, this is big.
Well, because you know, the one thing that I keep thinking about is this league is changing the way that girls can dream.
100%, yeah.
Do you think about that?
Yeah, like I see myself, and through my career, as hopefully having a really prominent role in that setting, and sharing my experiences and my journeys as a footballer, and you know, for the girls and non-binary people to have exposure right on your doorstep, like that speaks volumes. And I've seen the increase in numbers and the involvement and the smiles on the kids' faces back home, having, you know, like a women's team in New Zealand. So yeah, I know that the sky's the limit really for this space, and women's football is just skyrocketing right now. So I think, and although it's been a bit delayed for Canada, like they're coming in at a really, really exciting time. So I'm trying to take that narrative with it all.
From a player's perspective, you left home and played in clubs in Europe and elsewhere. Why is it so important that players have the choice to stay and play at home?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like you said, I didn't, and it was all I ever knew, that I was like, I have to leave home. And when I was young, I've always been quite a homebody, so it was a huge adjustment to like go from New Zealand to Europe, and being so far away from home, and with the time difference and everything, you have to grow through that, and it's almost a sink or swim kind of moment. So I think, especially for the progression and the development of player pathways, having like a stepping stone for young players to look like, I can do this on my home soil initially, and then if I want to go overseas and explore, like that's the beauty of the game, you get that opportunity as well. But to have it, you know, in your backyard, that it speaks volumes, and it's only going to help the game grow here and keep, I guess, players more involved for longer. Because I mean, your population is a lot larger than mine, and I know there's more, you know, involved in the game here, so maybe it will hopefully also keep them involved in it longer if they choose to and want to.
I've checked out your social media accounts and read articles and watched videos, and one thing that strikes me about you is you seem very self-assured in who you are, and you're out and you're proud. You know, when you're thinking about where you want to play and work, do you give thought to choosing somewhere that allows you to be you?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's certainly taken me time to get to this point. It's not been an easy journey. It's obviously everybody's different in the community as well. But yeah, for me, especially at this point in my career, it very much comes into play. And yeah, you want to be able to go somewhere where you can be yourself. And there are parts of the world where that's not possible right now. And yeah, for me, it was certainly like another tick to the long list of why I came here.
Well, thank you. This was great.
No, pleasure.
This is NSL Halftime presented by BMO, and AFC Toronto hold on to a precarious 1-goal lead over Calgary Wild FC. One shot, one goal. Sometimes that's all you need, but Jess, it's been Calgary who has really been advantageous, specifically on the flanks and those through balls, causing a lot of trouble for the defense in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Calgary had a really good half. Those transitional moments, Toronto was in trouble quite a few times. Doherty Howard and Savitsky have been huge in creating them. This is just an example. Nikki Small is a little late to step there, and she's able to find Johnson out on the flank, who's going to cause problems. And she tries to slip that through, but obviously it doesn't follow through. But if Calgary's able to get on the end of these, Toronto's going to run into a lot of problems. We are seeing Toronto, though, I will say, as the match went on, they were able to adapt. We sort of saw them in a 5-3-2. You were having Ashuri and Barnett really drop back to deal with that, which I did think they did really well. But that is going to be a lot on them to be able to get up and down the pitch. This is another example, recognizing that space. Johnson doing really well to cause problems, and she's attempting to really pull out Soto there, and that's what Toronto can't let happen. It's going to create too many problems in the middle of the park, too many gaps, and Calgary is a team that we know can capitalize on those.
And a nice job by Emma Reagan there, kind of slow playing that retreat, looking like it's open and stepping in to give Soto that assistance. But let's talk about this AFC Toronto goal, because it's the first time this season, granted a short season, that they have been in the lead, and they talked about transition opportunities, holding possession in the midfield, but this was 1-2, boom, and she's gone.
I mean, we love to see it, right? We've been wanting to see Toronto get on the board. The composure and the ability to bring that ball down and do a quick little touch by Okoronkwo, and for Small to do what Small does best and pull those strings and be able to play that quick little slip ball, and obviously finishing that like a pro and the pro that she is. And it's just great to be able to see her finally get one after all that hard work that she's been putting in.
She did a little step back celebration with Barnett after, but that was full throttle for Esther Okoronkwo, who gave these fans who are out in this weather something to cheer about. York Lions Stadium, we return in just a moment.
Wait, 25 is like my favorite age. I'm so what? How did you know? I actually got this, and I'm like, let's be like, I'm 25. Like, that's so cool.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes me feel a bit better. But I don't think everyone knows about this. So, kind of using it to my advantage. Janine, how's the water park?
Hillary, what do you think?
You gave her a ticket, right? Like, after all she's been through. That was the funniest one. Yeah, everyone just make sure you lock your doors. Yeah. Good skip. 4, one more. Yeah. Yeah. We can go over. Yeah, Jade. Turn. Yeah, inside, Dree. Yeah. Oh, that's how.
Can you go to people and just give them like random fake fun fact?
Like make something up?
Yeah.
Okay. You zipped up your bag inside, right?
No.
Oh. Yeah. Careful, there's like a lot of spiders in Vancouver, so
okay.
you might. It's fine, but like, and sometimes poisonous.
I'm gonna have you guys then check my
It might.
Yeah.
It's just like the shoes. Sometimes like you got to be careful.
Okay. Good to go.
Yeah. I have a real fun fact that she's the man field. Did you know that? At least you're over here. I don't want to be against you. Did you win? Okay, good. We were only going to the yellow before? Oh my. Yeah, I ran to. Do you need help with your everything? Did you have GPS on?
Thank you.
Who did your hair today? Bianca. You want to do abs with me?
Oh my God, partner workout.
Right? You want to be a part of it, Liz?
No.
Okay. Okay, 2 more each.
You're done for the day. Any last words for everyone?
No, had fun. No, I only swore like once or twice, so that's actually a win.
Which he will
Bleep out. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
This is the NSL Halftime Report presented by BMO as we take a look at our next match, and a heavy dose of Jessica Lisi this weekend because you are on this call Saturday, May 2nd on CBC Gem, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Pacific. You have the undefeated Montreal Roses FC taking on the Ottawa Rapid FC, the team that beat AFC Toronto in its last match.
See you guys there.
See you there. Here's what we're working with for this match here after 45 minutes in Toronto. Shots on target stands out in a major way because it's something that Toronto specifically has had challenges with. They have 3 of the top 5 shot takers in the league, but it doesn't resonate with shots on goal. And I think the possession numbers stood out to you, Jessica.
Yeah, the possession absolutely stands out. I think Calgary, was very dominant in certain parts of the field. We saw them create a lot on that flank and create a lot of purposeful movement off of the ball to create those. But I do think that they just have to be a little bit more clinical. We spoke about Toronto having to be clinical. I think Calgary needs to be a little more clinical in that final third, in and around the box, because they are creating the chances.
And then 4 corner kicks for Toronto, 0 for Calgary Wild FC, which is something that, again, is a little bit out of character for them for as much as we know about the character in a small sample size, but they're getting those through balls, they're getting those transition runs, and so the next step maybe instead of just going direct on target to Manor, drawing a corner kick and then getting an opportunity to set up in the offensive third.
Yeah, and you know what? I think like the fact that they've been able to score off of those set pieces. We know they're great at them, so it is smart on Toronto's part to not allow any free kicks or corners in a very dangerous position. But I do think that Calgary potentially has one in the tank in this half. I do see one coming. I think that they are creating a lot of great chances, and it's just a matter of really putting their foot through the ball and hitting the back of the net.
On the ball right now is Esther Okoronkwo. She scored the first and only goal of this match, and play is underway here in the second half, and it's an opportunity for fans to see what is the Toronto DNA made out of, because they're a team that likes to get forward, offside called. They're a team that likes to get forward, they like to be aggressive, but playing with a lead, will we see them hunker back in a mid to low block, or will they stretch themselves out and go for goal? My guess is the latter, but we have an opportunity to find out here today.
Let's see if you're right.
Thank you for tuning in to NSL Week 3 from North York, Ontario at York Lions Field. I'm joined by Jessica Lisi, former youth international for Team Canada. My name is Ashley Docking, and we're glad to have you along for the ride if you're just tuning in. Start of the second half. It's Toronto up 1-0 on Calgary, who has had more chances at goal, but it's Toronto that's been able to capitalize on their first and only opportunity midway through the first half. Clearance here by AFC. It's Okoronkwo who's coming back, and none other than Nikki Small, whose fingerprints are all over this match. She plays the ball out wide, and advance goes AFC. Barnett taking time to study what she has in front of her and trying to play those through balls, but offside anyway, as Toronto was forced to run around Michaela Moore, that big body back there who does so much for this Calgary defense.
That switch ball is on for Toronto quite a bit, being able to find that player either in Barnett or Ashuri, being able to come through the flank, opposite side. Small is doing a very good job at finding it, and I do think that they're going to be able to find a lot of opportunities through that, utilizing those two players specifically.
Thornton unable to control. The ball returns to AFC. Barnett with the throw. Small invades the space. And instead, it's going to come to play through centrally for AFC. Back to Soto. She has Ashuri running to the touchline, and just a little bit of miscommunication. And I guess, Jess, how much can you expect that for Croy Soto coming in and playing with her teammates for the first time in 3 matches? There is an element of chemistry that has to be built.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think nerves also play into it. At the end of the day, she is feeling what these players felt in the last 2 matches. Yes, in the last home opener, exactly.
Hunter, she'll go direct. And a nice save by Bukovic, who had to go diving for that one, knocks it down. And the first time she's really been tested off her feet aside from the 1v1.
Yeah, and this is a great recognition and great turn by Kaylee Hunter to realize she has time, she has space, and why not try it from that distance? She is capable. We know she can find the back of the net, and I think we haven't really seen her take a shot from distance so far. So it is great to see her come alive and find her confidence as this match goes on.
Kaylee Hunter, as we talked about off the top, just 17 years old, from Calgary, Alberta. She played Vancouver Whitecaps Girls Elite, and she came in versus Montreal in the 81st minute, subbed in game 2 against Ottawa in the 64th minute, and now getting a chance to start here for AFC. Soto misjudges that and has to run it out of bounds. Unable to get her foot behind it, and it's going to be Calgary ball. Bodied off the ball is Griffith by Emma Regan. And Victoria Pickett decides to take liberties upfield. She has Hunter on the run, Okoronkwo on the right-hand side. A nice ball into Small in close quarters. Now 1v1. Knocked out of bounds by Micah Rolsma.
This is well in by Emma Regan. That is exactly what you want from your players defensively, to go in hard. That was a fair tackle, shoulder to shoulder. She was able to win that. And you had Victoria Pickett, who you want in your transitional moments to have the ball at her feet, confident, very, very smart in the game, and able to just, create something out of that and find Okoronkwo's feet.
That's big girl football by Emma Regan, your captain, leading the way. And you saw everyone kind of stop, like, we're doing this? Play on? Okay, we love to see it.
She's setting the standard.
So I asked just 5 minutes ago, what do you think AFC Toronto is going to do? Are they going to, sit back in a mid to low block, or are they going to push forward and advance? And I think we have our answer. A nice turn on by Small, trying to find Hunter in the pitch, but it's Moore who steps in and intercedes. Now back the other way goes Calgary. Stewart was looking to play a 1-2 game with Thurton, and it's turned over.
It's hard to create much of that. There wasn't much for her to be able to do. She couldn't really hold it up. She was running full pace, and obviously she was outnumbered in that. So, not much she could create out of that. It was a good idea to attempt to find Thurton on the width.
Sarah Griffith comes from an offside position. The flag goes up. It'll be a free kick here for AFC Toronto. Well behind the defense, an easy call for our associate referee, who, by the way, are Gabrielle Lemieux and Camille Raymond today, alongside our head official, Salama Flores de Roche, who hasn't had to referee too much in terms of flare-ups or altercations. It's been a fairly clean match here. A few early calls on Victoria Pickett, who drew fouls. Okoronkwo tries to use her body to let that ball bounce free, regains possession at her feet, and Doherty Howard looks to intervene. And not only do they avoid the corner kick, Calgary retain possession. AFC Toronto giving Calgary a nice dose of some extended pressure here early on, which is not something we've seen. Yes, they had more set pieces. Yes, of course, they're up 1-0, but it had been flashes in the pan, and this is a bit of a different look, having them pressed in here.
Yeah, and I think, you know, AFC Toronto is a team that we spoke of resilience and that desire, and I think that, you know, having the momentum of that goal coming into the second half especially is something that they've never felt, and I think that they're using it to their advantage. We are seeing a very aggressive and very front-footed Toronto right now, and that's a hard team to play against because we do know that they are very talented from the roster alone, and we haven't seen the best of these players just yet, and I think we're seeing a lot of glimpses of it.
Barnett into the 6, her target, Esther Okoronkwo, and it's Bukovic who comes out and collects that tidily.
That was a good ball in. Obviously, Barnett could have potentially have drawn it a little further back, but again, we're speaking about desire in that box specifically, and Okoronkwo could have potentially just, you know, ran in there a little more, maybe stuck out a foot, just not make it so easy for Bukovic. I think right now it is a little too easy for her on those crosses.
Soto up against Stewart, has the height advantage. She's happy to mirror the possession, but now it's Johnson. And who else but Victoria Pickett. Oh, once again, fakes the pass back to Regan, and she's on the move.
She's the transition queen.
Get her a sash. Miss Congeniality for Emma Regan, and a nice ball here by Esther Okoronkwo, and oh my goodness, the audacity.
Oh my goodness.
Perfectly placed, and it's a brace for the Toronto attacker.
That was an absolute banger.
So this all starts with your transition queen.
Transition queen Pickett doing what she does best, being able to find feet and not, you know, forcing that ball into nothing. Okoronkwo, oh my goodness, being able to use her pace, use her athleticism and her smarts, and then here you go. I mean, that is absolutely world class. The curve on that, the bend, her ability to find that corner and recognize the goalie's positioning. And we love a good celebration. We love that.
This is what it's all about. Esther Okoronkwo, we were talking about her specifically on our weekly coaches call with Marko Milanovic, talking about needing more from her. And it's not for a lack of talent. It's not for a lack of effort. It's just the opportunity she created with herself. And just tell me if I'm onto something here. She also lulled the defense into a false sense of security because every possession, going to goal, going to goal. This one, she says, you want to give me time and space? All right, bet.
Yeah, I think something that she's been doing really well this game specifically, and we saw glimpses of it in the other two, but her movement off the ball is huge. We saw her really find that channel, being able to find the space. Obviously, Pickett was able to find her feet, but the recognition of to take her time, the patience. You don't want to challenge me. I'm going to go at you all day. I'm confident, and to be able to strike that from that distance with that precision, you know, that was just, yeah, that was a world-class finish by her. It's definitely her day today.
2 shots on goal, 2 goals.
Some would say perfection.
Some would say she's having the perfect game, and you know it's no surprise for those who are familiar with her game. As Small tries to say, "Oh, you can do it, I can do better," the ball gets a little away from her, and it's Calgary who's going to go the other way. But back to Okoronkwo, she's played in the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 for Nigeria. She made an appearance in the Summer Olympics 2024, so she understands what it takes to play at the highest levels, play against some of the best footballers in the world. And so now she comes here and gets a chance to assert herself and making the most of the opportunity.
Yeah, and those are the players that, you know, you expect to rely on and you expect to make such a big impact. So that's why I'm so happy for her that she's finally coming into her footing and finding that confidence, and the ball is hitting the back of the net.
beautiful, beautiful goal by Okoronkwo, making it 2-0 for AFC Toronto against Calgary Wild FC here in the 57th minute. And it's Calgary very much on their heels in a way we haven't seen so far in this matchup. And a credit to AFC Toronto and the coaching staff for giving this team the green light to press on. Okoronkwo once again testing her speed. She gets there in time before the defender, but it's Vukovic who, crafty. She has no fear, and I don't need to overstate how impressive it is for a goalkeeper to go 1v1 with an attacker like that.
I will be honest, those moments make me nervous. I probably would have been yelling at her on the field, like, just get it out. You know, you don't want a player like Okoronkwo being that close when your goalkeeper's out of the net and having a foot battle. But, you know, obviously it worked out. It still went out of bounds, or she was able to keep it in bounds. Very confident.
Yeah, Siri, play Anxiety by Doechii because that's exactly what I'm feeling right now. And I think that is warranted. But if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Vukovic. And, you know, I got to say, I like the black and red kit. It's giving Batman, Gotham City, Defender of the People. And here's an opportunity for Thurton to test her pace. And it's blown dead by the official. Flag goes up as Burton able to recover after a fall there, slip and fall.
We spoke about wanting to know what Nikki Small ate before this game. I also would love to know what Barnett ate, and I think Ashuri as well. These ladies are bombing up and down the field. Look at this pace and the fight. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one, but I definitely think that Barnett is working extremely hard to be able to get back and also get forward and create opportunities for her team.
Yeah, after the Pickett and Griffith collision, I thought that was the standard, but nonetheless, I think it's the arm extended, right? The shoulder-to-shoulder contact we love to see. It's when Thurton decides to extend the arm a little bit. That's when, you know, the flag's going to go up. Some space here for Ashuri, who's been a silent hero here tonight. Okoronkwo puts it back to the top of the 18 to Ashuri, and Doherty Howard there for the intervention. Regan possesses in the midfield, goes to her running mate Pickett.
You're really seeing Toronto control the ball now. They're confident on it, they're living on it, and that's what Milanovic has said he wanted from his side. He wanted them to play that style of soccer and really control it and change the dynamic of the game into their favor, and I think you're seeing that right now. They are playing very confidently, very calm. There's no rushing, right? Of course you have the advantage, but I am really impressed with them right now.
Foul called on Calgary as hands go into the back of Emma Regan. She gets knocked down on the ball. Free kick here for Toronto. And AFC have all the time in the world. They are on day 2 of an all-inclusive vacation here in this match. They have nothing but time. It's Calgary who's going to have to force the issue, get into a little bit more pressure, and as a result, stretch themselves a little bit more, right? That's part of the vulnerability of pressing.
Yeah, and I think we haven't seen, you know, Green and Storty get as involved as I would love to see. I think Grace Storty is a player that's very dangerous when she gets forward, and she is very good in that attacking third to create opportunities. So I would really love to see her get forward and combine more with Thurton. Toronto has done a really good job at adapting, and that's kudos to them because they are able to deal when they are dropping into a 5-back and also having, you know, the midfield get taken care of, because those were the two things that tactically they were going to be exposed. So I do think that Toronto has been adapting really well, and I just think that Calgary has to adapt now. They have to figure out how to take advantage of what they're great at and having, you know, numbers up on the flank.
Point well made about Grace Storty, all ACC first team 4 times at the University of Memphis. The pedigree is there. Hong says, I'm not risking it. knocks it right out of bounds and lets her side retreat into coverage. Turnover. Back the other way go AFC Toronto. Okoronkwo gets hit on the back. She's able to continue to possess. Out left side to Barnett. She'll take a shot at it. Oh! A banger off the crossbar and inches away from glory. Colby Barnett.
I spoke about that, wanting to see that switch ball. It's on time and time again. Colby Barnett doing what Colby Barnett knows how to do. We've been speaking about her and the inconsistency in the crosses, but my God, that was well hit, and you'd love to see it. You love to see her try it, because I do think that Colby Barnett got one in her just from the quality of her ability to strike a ball alone.
We're having 2 substitutions here for Calgary, who are looking to flip a switch. 3 substitutions, excuse me, who are looking to flip a switch. It's going to be the end of the night for Sarita Thornton, who had a good showing in the first half, was pressing. Maddie Wilson joins the fold as well. She's coming in relief of Tegan Stewart. Kaylee Books is the 3rd and final substitution here in this trio for Calgary. And she's coming out for the aforementioned Sarita Thornton. For the first time in a while, it's Calgary who have maintained a semblance of possession here in the attacking half. Allie Green looking to connect with her teammate, Johnson. It ends up on the foot of Johnson, but turned over quickly. Croy Soto, a nice play, and then Nikki Small hits the deck. Free kick here. AFC Toronto. It's Manor that will come out and handle things for her side. And Manor hasn't really been tested. I know we talked about the abundance of shots on goal compared to Toronto that Calgary had, but a lot of it right on her frame. Hasn't had to think, move her feet all too much.
Yeah, no, agreed. She hasn't been tested much.
Small is off to the races. She has numbers. Knocked into the 6. It's still loose. And Ashuri trying to get in on the goal-scoring action here, making a ball for Hunter.
Those transitional moments for Toronto are really on. They're doing very well at winning them. Ashuri does a good job at picking Hunter out. Obviously well in by Moore to be able to, give her no time and space. Hunter is not a player you want in around your 6 striking on goal. So well in by Moore, but great recognition by Ashuri to actually put it on someone's foot and not just mindlessly kick it into the box.
Trying to get it back on for Hunter, and they're calling offside. And kudos to Michaela Moore, who had a tough go of it, getting called for the penalty in the box in Calgary's first match, the inaugural NSL match, getting a foul in the box, leading to a Quinn penalty, which stood as the game-winning goal, and then coming back, getting a head on a set piece, scoring, net neutral, is what we were saying, and then coming in and standing tall at the top of the 6 and not shying away from that contact, ball first against Hunter. Foul, captain Emma Regan.
Yeah, there's definitely some extended arm in the back there on Johnson from Regan. That call I agree with, Ashley. I agree with that one. There was some contact there.
We've done it, folks. We've gotten the Jess seal of approval. But that's the thing, right? It's always going to be the extension that gets you. things getting a little bit more physical here in halfway through the second half, 67th minute at York Lions Stadium in North York. Both teams get an opportunity to debrief, and I'm curious as to your thoughts on Lydia Bedford's messaging to her side at this point. There's not too much time. You're down 2. What's the message?
You know what? I think that these are the moments that you have to stick with what you're good at. She mentioned they like to focus on their game plan, and one thing that they are great at is being able to overload those flanks and being able to create those opportunities, getting players in the box and creating that, getting those good balls in the box with the players that are crashing. So I think that right now she's sticking true to her game plan, and I don't think she's going to change much, because we do know that this is a very capable side. And at these moments when you try to change too much, things don't usually go your way.
Right. You can't operate from a place of panic. You have to, dance with the girl you brought. And if that's going to be the style of play, then that's going to be the style of play, something to potentially revisit in training and tweak. But really, as you mentioned, kudos to AFC, who have done a good job negating the advantage that Calgary was building on in the first half, and they haven't had any answers.
A 2-goal lead is also, I actually mentioned this on the last broadcast, it's the worst lead to have.
I disagree.
I can't disagree with myself there, because
it's worse than 1. It's worse than 1-0.
We'll get back to this after the game.
Service into the box. The penalty spot gets busy. A cluster of bodies, and it's met by Hung in the air and cleared out briskly by AFC Toronto. Allie Green gets into a little bit of a tussle with Small, and it goes Nikki's way.
Just to revisit, Ashley.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, perfect.
We got to revisit. A 2-goal lead allows a team to be comfortable. They think it's over. They have 2 goals up, but it just takes one to get really back into it. When a team has a 1-goal lead, they don't necessarily shy off. They still bring it. They're still intense in it. So I do think that a 2-goal lead is worse at times.
I will take the opportunity to make a mistake over worrying if my foot's off the gas. Your point is well made.
Fair enough.
Your point is well made. Agree to disagree. Not our first fight. Partner, please.
On air, too. That's crazy.
Nikki Small trying to make something happen, advance that lead to 3. Michaela Moore, she'll reverse the field of play. Test things up the right side of the pitch for Wild as the ball goes to Madison Wilson, gets her first touch. She's a London, Ontario native who played NCAA D1 at the University of Dayton and the University of Iowa.
Once again, just want to make note of Barnett's defensive work. She's putting in big tackles and in big moments, and she's doing really well. She's putting her body on the line constantly.
Cathro mixing it up. The ball bounces loose, and it's Doherty Howard who calls for it. Okoronkwo is there to press, causing that quick ball down the flank to have a little bit too much on it, and whether Okoronkwo could get there or not, the footsteps, even the threat of a presence, if you will.
But that is what Calgary needs to continue to do. They need to keep trying it. If that ball was not overhit, they could have potentially been a cross that came of it. So you just have to keep trying time and time again, and eventually one will come.
The second half, a completely different match as Hunter goes on a run. She has Small down the side, and she'll utilize the outlet. One touch cross, top of the 6. Michaela Moore, so sturdy, heads it out of danger. Corey Soto gets to it first.
There was great finesse in that as well. Her ability to, recognize it needed to be cut back, but she's also a little far out, so it does need to be overhit. It can't just simply be a regular cutback. So she was able to, put some pace on it, but just enough where there is spin and she's able to find a player in the box.
Play blown dead, foul called on AFC Toronto. Allie Green looks to play it forward. It goes right to Regan, and our official, Salama Flores de Roche, has a card coming out of her pocket. So it's going to be a booking here. unsure who that was attributed to. I think it might have been Okoronkwo for delay of game, or Nikki Small for not getting out of the way. Yeah, Esther Okoronkwo, when that call was blown dead, she had the ball and she kicked it away from Allie Green and wouldn't allow her to just take it and play it quickly. So yellow card and a booking here for Esther Okoronkwo in the 72nd minute. She's doing a little everything today.
She is.
Scoring, some finesse, mixing it up a little. Manor will comfortably play that ball out to Ashori and tries to make some headway. Small. The tackle from behind on Doherty Howard. She hits the turf. It's blown dead. And I was going to say, this is almost a completely different half in terms of conditions, right? The first half, it's pouring rain. Everything's soaking wet. The pace of play is increased. Everything's skipping. Now, towards the end of the match, the sun came out, or the end of the first half, the sun came out, the rain stopped, reset, as Croy Soto pleads her case with our official. Griffith hit the ground, and it's a free kick now from distance here for Calgary, but we know how dangerous they can be in these moments.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm not sure, but from that angle, it didn't look like it was a foul.
Doherty Howard into the 18. Header on! Michaela Moore! Ooh, gets a foot on it. And that is the most threatening we've seen Calgary today.
This is a good ball in by Doherty Howard. In Calgary, one thing they do very well is they win those first and second balls. So well in by Doherty Howard. I believe it's Johnson that gets up and redirects that towards Moore. And Moore being in a position to cause problems. That's what we've been speaking about. You need someone to just make it hard for the keeper.
First corner kick of the match for Calgary, and it's blown dead before we even get any action. Have a player down at the top of the 6. Our official is going to just talk to the group, and Griffin is saying, I got pushed in the back, and Victoria Pickett standing like that, the woman emoji in the blue pants.
She's not looking too pleased.
Once again, the service, top of the 6. And AFC Toronto dispatches that quite easily. Almost lost the surprise with that stoppage in play, and we're going to get a substitution here for Toronto. Aoi Kasaki is coming in for Ashori, and I think kudos to Shayna Ashori for her performance here tonight. Lights out.
Yeah, I thought she was instrumental for them today. She was able to get up and down the pitch. She put in the work defensively and helped to shut down Johnson in that first half.
So a little bit more run here for Aoi Kisaki, because in the last match against Montreal, she came in the 80th minute, so a little bit more of extended run here. Subbed in game 2 against in the 64th, so she's getting opportunity where Marko Milanovic feels like she can. She had assist on Hunter's goal, previously the first and only of AFC Toronto. No advantage anymore, and you know, Hong getting wrapped up in the mix, and that's going to be a yellow card, the second booking for AFC. Griffith once again mixing it up.
Yeah, poor Griffith has been on the end of all of these fouls.
On everything, yes. But that's a bit of a skill, right?
It is, and that's what you want from your 9. You want her to be, you know, in there, get into the nitty gritty, and draw those fouls to create these opportunities.
High G booked with a yellow card here in the 77th minute. Doherty Howard once again a chance on the service. Chip shot intervened by Croy Soto. And our official blows the play dead as opportunity and advantage was lost. When who else? Barnett. Knockdown, getting in the dirty areas.
Those free kicks, they have to have better delivery. You need to be able to drop them in between that penalty spot and that 6 for your runners to be able to challenge the keeper who's coming out, or be able to at least redirect it towards goal.
Second time Doherty Howard in those instances has looked maybe trying to finesse it a little too much. First half chipping it right into the wall, and then this one just maybe not having enough sauce on it, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. She might just be overthinking it, probably putting a lot of pressure on herself in these moments. You know, you are down and you just want that to be perfect.
Okoronkwo holds off on passing it to Hunter as she went for a run and was offside. That's that learning curve that we're talking about.
In that exact moment, it would have been nice to see Kaylee Hunter actually pull wide before coming across so that Okoronkwo could find her on that instead of really, you know, making that diagonal run and being offside before the ball was even kicked and having to find herself back on side. It really killed Okoronkwo's pace and her ability to create something out of that.
Yep, she got roadblocked. You saw her head up, said no, had to pull it back, and now we have Calgary trying to make a move here. Just over 10 minutes in regulation time here at York Lions Stadium. It's the home team up 2-0 against Calgary Wild in what is their home opener mulligan, I'm going to call it, because they get a second chance at their new stadium where they're going to reside, but now caution because it's Calgary who's threatening at the top of the box. Hong intervenes ahead of Manor. Possession remains with Calgary. Calling for a handball. You can hear the screams, and it's Soto who goes down. And this time, Griffith on the other end of it.
Just to go back to that play, Callie Johnson did a really good job at, you know, recognizing she wasn't going to be able to get out on the flank. Nikki Small did a great job at cutting off that angle, and she was able to reposition herself and find that little hole to be able to get on the ball and spin and create something for her team.
And you heard a bit of an uproar when the cross opportunity hit Soto right in the arm, but it was in front of her body, in front of her chest, and so that's not going to yield a penalty. In that instance, it's when your arm is in an unnatural position outside your body. Loose ball, it's Hong's touch who gives possession to AFC, and Regan quickly switches the field of play. Cathro has Barnett. Toronto moving quickly. 2-on-1 yields a turnover. But that pass finds nothing but maroons. Look at the AFC supporters thugging it out in the cold, wet conditions here to watch their team go up 2-0 in what has been an entertaining game for the home side fans.
Those are some true fans.
Nikki Small once again working magic, head up, looks to cross, it's Hunter, who, to your point earlier, goes left, cuts across back right, and now look, a free kick here for AFC and a yellow card, a booking now for Calgary.
Nikki Small recognizing that Hunter is coming across. It was a hard tackle. I'm not too sure if it was a card, but I will say that, you know, it might have looked a lot worse than it was.
In real time.
She had a lot of momentum coming across. She did look like she landed hard, but I'm not too sure if, you know, there was intent behind that.
Michaela Moore booked with her first yellow of the campaign, third in this match. And another opportunity for AFC to extend the lead to 3. Colby Barnett will take this at the top center of the 18, just outside. We
have seen her hit a few good balls today, so I'm wondering if this one is finally gonna hit the mesh.
Vukovic directing traffic. Barnett goes direct, it hits the wall. The bravery to stand in as Pickett chunks that one high over the goal.
I will say one of my least favorite things was when I had to stand in the wall.
You're like, I will do anything. Me?
I should have to tie my shoe. Can someone else step in for me?
No, Jess, we're talking to you. Me? Oh, I thought you meant Jessica. Sorry, my mistake. Substitution here for Calgary. Sarah Griffith, who has been as pesky as can be. Her night is over, and it's Danielle Steer who will replace her. The Surrey, BC native is on the pitch now for Wild FC. And yeah, to your point, the bravery to stand in and not flinch and just have to steel yourself in that moment. A fantastic job by Calgary, because if you don't, your goalie is in a world of trouble. They're relying on you in those moments.
Calgary is attempting to find that flank play. They aren't connecting right now. That is their issue. It's those simple passes, it's the combinations, it's that final cross, or in that situation, you know, that ball that's being overhit when being sent out to the flank.
Tight whistle here in the second half from our officiating crew. That one blown dead. Foul called on Doherty Howard. Cathro puts the ball back into play quickly. It finds the foot of Regan. Here comes the pressure.
Regan doing well to evade 3 players in that situation.
Getting swarmed. Now Hong goes back to Manor. Okoronkwo wins possession momentarily, and it's now Michaela Moore who has an opportunity.
Obviously that didn't go Okoronkwo's way, but I do just want to point out she is a player that is a hybrid. She has the ability to come off the front and hold you off. Not many players have that ability, and then to also be able to be a player that can get in behind and use that athletic speed. It's usually one or the other, so she is a very impressive player.
And with that dangerous left foot, as we see a would-be injury, but it looks like Micah Rolfsma is going to be okay. Just favoring her lower half. Toronto will play the ball back to Calgary. Good show of sportsmanship. But to the final point about Okoronkwo, she's left-footed, and I know that players at this level, they can facilitate with both feet, but that's her natural, you know, weapon, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that sometimes can be a surprise for some defenders if the scout is forgotten momentarily.
It's also a lot harder to judge a ball that's being kicked by a left footer, as we saw her ability to bend that ball and have it dip into the back of the net on her second goal.
Foul called here on AFC. It's going to be another free kick in that middling area outside the 18. Calgary hasn't had a ton of success on the set pieces so far here tonight. Slight bump for Maggie Doherty Howard. She goes down and wins the foul.
Almost like a do-over.
Mulligan, it's the Mulligan game, I tell you. The chip is on. Oh my goodness, and it's Michaela Moore, the target. And then Corey Soto is holding on to the ball in the net. She gets tackled by 2 players. Well, run into, I should say, is more appropriate. But let's take a look at this brilliant moment here for Calgary.
On that last one, we said, you know, we wish she could have that back just to be able to put it right where she just put that, being able to have just the right amount of spin on it, not too hard, not too soft, and have it land right where all the players are being able to run in. That was really well done by Doherty Howard to get that ball in, and who else other than Moore to get on the end of another set piece.
Michaela Moore just Such a big target in the best way. She holds off Hong on her back and is able to redirect under pressure for her second goal of the season. It's no doubt she has over 60 caps with the national team for New Zealand, 4 goals with them as well, and really is becoming some of a Jordan Heidema type of target, if you will, in the 18 for this Calgary group. And so for a defender to be able to finish with that level of tact says a lot about her caliber.
Again, this is just really well done, really well placed, and the ability to use your head in that moment and be able to redirect it towards goal when she's not necessarily facing forward it shows a lot of her quality as a player. So yeah, well in by her.
With Hong as a backpack.
Yeah, exactly.
All over her. Another substitution here for AFC. Or excuse me, Calgary. It's going to be the end of the road here for Allie Green tonight. And then Keelan Stewart is going to get an opportunity to hit the pitch here. Her twin sister Tegan also on the Calgary Wild FC team.
We're seeing Toronto use a bit of a time-wasting tactic. Keep it in that corner.
For Calgary, you have to rush, but you can't hurry too much. It's that fine balance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But this is exactly where I was saying that 2-goal lead. Gotta point that out, Ashley.
Yeah.
Gotta point it out.
You see fun at parties.
The momentum I am. The momentum shifts, and the momentum shifts completely to the other side, and now you almost feel like, you gotta be close to perfect if you are that team that's in the lead.
Ball on target, and that needed to be carefully quaffed over the net by Manor. One of those dangerous floating strikes.
I mean, in moments like this, why not try it? She almost had it. Another big moment here for them to be able to get on the end of this.
1 minute left in regulation. Pickett able to clear that out, but it falls back to the foot of Wilson, and Small playing hero. A release valve for AFC, and Bukovic is ready to join the play. She's been known to get a few goals in her own right. So I wouldn't be surprised if a set piece later on you see Bukovic up in the penalty area as well.
But you are seeing that experience in Toronto and that recognition to, sort of waste time and send it down to that corner, whether they're holding it in or you see Small constantly just passing it into that corner and having them restart the play.
Pickett hits the ground as 4 minutes of extra time here announced at York Lions Stadium. Tense moments for AFC Toronto faithful.
Seems like poor Pickett has become best friends with the ground at this point. That poor girl is on the floor constantly getting on the worst end of fouls.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you see AFC players go into slow-mo mode, if you will. Everything takes a little longer. My shoelace is now undone.
You're not wrong.
I don't know where the ball is for a throw-in. Some of that gamesmanship.
Gotta have it.
Hunter, the young phenom, has been sniffing at goal here tonight, unable to find the back of the net as she exits the pitch on the left-hand side. Hong to Okoronkwo. Small makes the run. As we see a late substitution for Toronto, Natoya Katumbo, who started last match, now comes in for extra time here at York Lions Stadium. But we still have a 1-goal match here. Anything can happen in 2.5 minutes.
We spoke about the threat that Calgary does have on the flank, so I think making a sub like Katembo in these moments where you do want somebody that's fresh, that's going to be able to keep that pace and not allow Calgary to really create anything on that flank. That was a very smart move by Milanovic.
Coming down to the wire here, who wants it more? Advantageous bounces play a factor in moments like this. Focus. Time to get locked in as Doherty Howard plays the ball back to Moore, the lone goal scorer here for Calgary. Tapped on to Johnson, who loses the touch ever so slightly, but top of the 18, and it's Croy Soto who intervenes. Soto using her height, the ball falls on her, opportunities abound for Calgary. Hands up, calling for a handball. Croy Soto is in considerable pain here as we take a look at the call that wouldn't be.
I'm pretty sure that hit her chest. I didn't see a
maybe
contact with the arm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Rolfsma waiting to deliver the ball. Croy Soto is up, which is good to see. She seems well. 1 minute remaining in extra time. Calgary down 1. Lydia Bedford getting in on the action. One way to quell the nerves. Rolfsma, direct to Soto, one touch out of the box. And a miscommunication, and away we go. Victoria Pickett holds up. Vukovic catch up with her, lays it off to Small, and that looks like the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I'm not too sure why she didn't continue to go by herself. That was a very unselfish play. I think in those moments you have to be selfish. That could have been, yeah, absolutely, as you said, the nail in the coffin.
Quizzical decision by one of the leaders of this team in Victoria Pickett. She had the defense beat. She had Vukovic out of position. Little chip shot over the top, never hurt nobody, but nonetheless, we play on.
But as we did say, transition queen.
Yes, yes. She just forgot her sash in the locker room. Offside called. And here's those tactics we're talking about. You see Stewart run to get that ball for Toronto, who's happy to lay in wait. Hitting the 4:30 mark of extra time at York Lions Stadium. Manor surveying. And it's only a matter of time now. AFC Toronto, can they hold on? Every time they touch the ball, flooded 1, 2, 3 defenders. Katembo looks for Small. Rolfsma finds it instead, and Regan punts it back in, trying to get the ball deep in enemy territory. Time ticking off the clock. You see Marko Milanovic say, hey, 4 minutes has elapsed.
Definitely has.
Closing time here at York Lions Stadium as the crowd erupts. And Hunter embraces the hero of the night, Okoronkwo. A brace. And it's AFC's Toronto's first win in club history.
I think that was awesome from Toronto today. We saw, a game, it was a game of two halves. I thought that in the first half, Calgary created a lot, but as we saw Toronto get that first goal and Okoronkwo come up big for them twice, but after that first goal, we really saw them control the game, play confident, and they changed the entire dynamic of the game. Calgary was struggling a little to show what they were great at, which we know is that flank play. So I just think overall great performance by Toronto, and glad to see them finally get one and find their footing a bit in this match.
Calgary Wild FC did the best that they could down the stretch, coming from behind. A Maggie Doherty-Howard offering Michaela Moore header, textbook for this group, but it wasn't enough to overcome this woman here. Esther Okoronkwo, 2 goals, both done in magical fashion, clinical, precise power, and this really was the game that they had been hoping for out of her.
Yeah, this is just an exciting day. You see Okoronkwo really excited, really ecstatic, just having the time of her life, as she should. Very well deserved. AFC Toronto finally getting that first win.
This one for the fans that withstood the weather. This one for the Shield. AFC Toronto's first win of the regular season in NSL history. Back to the drawing board for Calgary Wild FC. 2-0, the final at York Lions Stadium. For Jessica Lisi, my name is Ashley Docking. For our entire group, thank you so much for joining us here to kick off week 3 of Northern Super League action. Come back May 3rd for our next matchup. We have the Montreal Roses. They're taking on Ottawa. The Roses, undefeated, by the way, making their mark this season, and AFC making a statement here tonight.